moonwriter.com. We're here on the Moon Base. We're going to do this episode of The Moon Day Show with Devon C. Ford. He's a best-selling author of several post-apocalyptic series and some sci-fi we're going to talk about today. Going to be super casual. We're just here to have fun, talk about books and stories and what's going on. So, Devon, thanks for coming. I do appreciate it.
Anytime, Scott. Anytime.
So, Devon and I have been friends for quite a while now. We're in several writers groups together. We've collaborated a little bit. We did collaborate on we did collaborate on my Shorty series. Devon wrote a story for that, Shorty and the Brits. So if anybody wants to check that out, they really should. It's fantastically awesome. Got several people here. Josh, Natalie, everybody likes the beard. That's obviously Devon. So
it's my lockdown beard.
Lockdown beards are tight. So good stuff. I haven't had the beard. I keep trying to get it, but I keep getting vetoed by my domestic boss person. Yeah,
we had that discussion, but she hated the beard, and then she hated the beard, then she hated the beard some more. Then she bought the beard some beard oil and a brush. It's a case of if you stay in, you need to be a bit tidier. So
right, yeah, you got to put in the time and whatnot. Let's see. Oh, see who's Facebook user. Let's see. Somebody's watching at work. So
we got Leo, and we got two Leos. Hey guys,
yeah, got to be Leo. So Devon and I are mashing up the. Do you want to go by Devon in this podcast? Is that what we're doing? Or anyway, so he's keeping track of some of the Facebook comments. I'm trying to keep track of the StreamYard comments and whatnot like that. It's on YouTube if people are into that, but you can also just watch it there later. What I would like, which I always forget to do, is I do have just kind of a burgeoning new YouTube channel, and it's mostly me talking to my writer friends. But if you want to go over there and like and subscribe over at scottmoonwriter.com or Scott Moon Writer on YouTube, it's attached to this. Check that out. I'd appreciate it and share that around. Beard oil and brush to keep them as well. Yep. So, yeah. So it's been kind of like a beard apocalypse. Besides the lockdown stuff, our department has recently allowed beards. So everybody's got these different beards and stuff at work. So it's very interesting. I'm not used to it yet.
Everybody's growing a Steve.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Yep. For sure. But,
yeah, I think we had the argument. Obviously, I don't have to go into work anymore and meet uniform standards or anything. Shaving is a big pain in the arse, and I'm just not very good at it.
Yeah.
So I decided to stop. Nearly 40 years in. So yeah, it's staying.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a lot of shaving going on. So for me, I just kind of start and just keep going until I come.
Just keep going round and round, and yeah.
Till the razor wears out, or I cut myself, which happens a lot actually. Pretty much. Can you play behind your head sometime? Sure, I guess we can try that. Talking about guitars, I used to. So when I grew up, I was into music and writing and anything creative, and I did go out to Los Angeles and to the Musicians Institute where I played guitar quite a bit, and I used to play behind my head. I have a picture someplace of myself playing behind my head, so it's actually not that hard if you know what you're doing. You got to be locked in.
Yeah. I started learning guitar, and I stopped learning guitar when my then 8-year-old was better than me. So it's still in the garage. It'll go up on the wall one day. I know how to play like 4 bars of a Johnny Cash song, but yeah, I think everyone's done that at some point.
So what I kind of thought we talk about today is I want to talk about the post-apocalyptic stories kind of, but I really want to talk about anything that you're working on right now. I know you're working on some awesome new sci-fi stuff, so maybe we can start with that. I obviously got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but what are you working on right now? I know you're doing some stuff with Josh and some other things, and
right now, you know me, I can't stick with one project. Right now, I am finishing up the last of 3 long post-apoc stories. And I'm working on 2 mill sci-fis at the same time. One with Josh, so that's Tranquility. A few of you might have seen some of the little hints going out. It's gone out to beta readers, or beta readers, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on. It's been out to the readers, and first feedback is that people are liking it, which is good because I was was reading back with Josh on Messenger, and I sent him a GIF of me having goosebumps, and really looking forward to this story.
Yeah.
My other post-apoc. I mean, I don't know if anyone else feel this, but I really kind of lost my way with post-apoc last year. Everyone making jokes about, oh, you should move your books to the current affairs section or to non-fiction. Like, that's funny,
but it's not funny. It's kind of funny, not funny.
I was kind of, I'm feeding my family based off the fact that people want to imagine this apocalypse, and now they're living it. They don't want to read my books, and that's upsetting. So I really lost my way with post-apoc last year. But I said this new one, I'm just about to finish up now through Athon, ready for Bray to read in the next few months. It's been fun. It's been different. I've thrown, if anything, it's post-apoc sci-fi as far as you can reach, because I've gone way ahead in the future, and no one knows what the apocalypse was, why it happened, or it is just the few towns of survivors, few cities left in mountain west of the US, and obviously they start shit with each other. So it's all about that.
It's cool. So you kind of got your world building done. So it's like a kind of a bridge between post-apoc and like near future, but actually a little bit farther future, like that. I like that. I like that type of idea a lot. It gives you a big sandbox to play in.
Oh, big, yeah. I mean, you can take the familiar and make it different. I do like a hard sci-fi, like my first series, where the world you built is the world of literally yesterday, but then it is limiting. So that's why I think I've gone more off into mill sci-fi this year, where what we want fast and light travel. You can have fast and light travel. How do you get it? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you can.
I grant it to you.
Yeah,
exactly.
The whole quantum physics. No, wave your hands. I think most people aren't too bothered with the absolute science. It just has to not sound ridiculous,
right?
And the rest of the story has got to be tight, and your character's got to be likable. If your character's likable and your story's moving fast, you can throw in some science that doesn't work, and it's forgiven. That's the fact I'm no scientist, and I certainly don't know anything about physics. So I make stuff up, and some people like it.
It's a consistency thing there, and like if it's cool and interesting, and you like the main thing, like you said, the characters, and they gotta be, if they're doing something that's interesting, they got some challenges. They're in peril. You're afraid your favorite character's gonna get killed or something.
Yeah, you've always got to be in some kind of conflict, some kind of peril. Be that with your own side, or be it with an enemy.
Yeah, for sure. So, skipping back a little bit, you'd mentioned you were talking about Tranquility with you and Josh. Now, you guys have a Facebook group for that specific book, right?
Yeah, we because obviously I've got my page, my fan page, and Josh has got his own group. So we decided just to put something in the middle just for that series. So Tranquility Fan Club, it is out there. We've invited a few of our people in there, but that's obviously going to get some bit more momentum when it goes. I mean, Tranquility. I started off probably 2 years ago, where I did that thing where I was working on something else. I had deadlines. I was way behind on my workload, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I get an idea, and I have to get up and I have to write that idea. And I think I got maybe 40,000 words in, where I just completely lost all momentum with it, and I put it in my folder of orphans. I forgot about it, and I was just chatting with Josh one day. I said, "Oh, what's next on your agenda?" And you think he was just finishing up, the last of his trilogy.
He just finished up his Valor trilogy. I think
he was wrapping up a Valor, and I said, "Oh, interested in the collab," because I didn't have the time. I did have the time to do it, but I wanted another set of eyes on the idea, and that went on to Josh calls it the and then thing, because it's like, well, we're going to do this. Oh, but what if we do this? Oh, then we can do this. And it's ended up, I said to you earlier, that idea has just snowballed into a fantastic mech action, alien mind control, colony, sci-fi amazeballs. So yeah, really like that book. And it's great. It's great writing with someone else, because I started the idea, we developed the idea, I wrote my parts, Josh changed it, did his parts, and then we had another idea, so we went back and changed something else, and then I give off the final draft to Josh, and then 11 years later, 11 weeks later, he comes back with it, and I'm reading this book, and because it's been a while since I read it, and B, been edited, been changed, I've literally gone into like this book with fresh eyes, and I cannot wait for it to come out. I'm more excited about this than a lot of things.
Super cool. I know it's got a great book cover, and I know you guys have been excited about it. Now, I was going to ask you kind of give us to say what you could about the story, because I want to talk about story stuff. So I don't know if you don't want to give spoilers, but you kind of summed it all up in that whole one sentence that you just said.
Sorry, Josh is jumping in here. Oh,
he's hateful, Josh. He's hateful. He's like, that's hateful. Yeah.
No, I think I might hurt his feelings. Believe me, I've hurt his feelings a lot more than that when we've been talking about it. What can I say about it? Yeah, I've summed it up a little bit. Second colony mission to a far-off space post-World War III, and the main characters are former military, but they're looking for a new life to settle down, have a family, and they do not get what they expect.
Oopsies.
And they have to MacGyver the shit out of it, basically. So they don't turn up with military gear, but they've got to fight. So they've got construction rigs. So come on, who doesn't want to strap up an adapted mining tool to make it a heavy minigun onto the side of a construction rig?
For sure. You're like, where can we put a gun on this thing?
So yeah, definitely that happens. It's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. I'm looking for my comments on here again too. So yeah, I mean, I think that's always something when you put two creative minds together, who knows what could happen, explosions and whatnot. So
what started out as 80,000 words has become 120,000 words, and I'm not joking. We've got the legs for another 10 stories out of this world we created.
Well, and it doesn't surprise me at all, because I know Josh and how he plans and writes and brainstorms ideas, and I know how you write, like 16,000 words a day or whatever your current pace is. I'm like, this is probably going to be a very long book and a series, lots of stuff into it. So Natalie asked, does it have the A team?
It has an A team,
Okay.
but they would never be chosen as the A team. It takes a bunch of misfits and makes them the heroes.
Awesome. There's several questions in here in the stream run I don't fully understand about who is chocolate and who is the peanut butter. I think I might be watching half of this conversation in one of the things. Oh, there it is.
Well, if that's a question about the collab between me and Josh and who's the chocolate, who's the peanut butter, everyone no. Everyone knows peanut butter goes with banana and sandwich.
Yeah, everybody back away slowly.
Yeah. So we'll put it this way: I started off as Big Spoon, and I'm refusing to take demotion.
I like it. That's a writerly answer right there. So, do you got more about that, or you want to talk about some of your other projects? I know you like you said, you do multiple projects at one time, kind of like me, but maybe in a different way.
It's because I have the concentration of a kitten. I juggle a lot at the moment. So I'm at the moment working between Wasteland 3. So my new series is the Wasteland 1, 2, and 3. So you've got no, in fact, I'm not going to go into that one. I'm going to leave that one a surprise. So you've got these 3 Wasteland stories. So I'm finishing up the last one of those, and I'm switching days between that and writing a completely new one called Territory Wars, which is just full on pew pew pew, Space Marines, evil Russians, dastardly British, and their stealth.
Did you say evil Russians or equal Russians? I couldn't.
Oh, evil Russians.
Evil. Okay.
Yeah. Big bearded, take your head off with a shovel kind of guys. Right.
Yeah. Good deal.
So look, Nick, how you doing? 16,000 words a day. I think he was joking. My record for this year so far is only 9,000 a day, and that was just a 1 day.
A 1 day average of 1 day is 9,000.
My record in a day is 18,000, and that was without drugs or alcohol. Don't know how the hell that happened. And Nick's saying that I hate sleep. It's not that I hate sleep, Nick. Is, as you'll find out when you get your new arrival, I don't hate sleep. Sleep hates me.
Right. Yes, I'm familiar. Yeah. I'm also on the not sleep train. I'm on today's actually my flip day. So I go to work tonight, but I normally take a nap in the afternoon. I'm just going to skip my nap in the afternoon on Monday. So I get like basically half of a day extra every week. So I think it's a plan. I hope it'll work. So,
nice.
I really need to work on these comments. I can't read everybody's comments, but anyway, so I'm all of the weight of the success of this episode falls on you, Dev, to keep track of everybody. So
that's great.
Problems,
what's
right?
the longest you've played video games straight? Right. Fallout 4 came out. My wife, then girlfriend, bought it for me. I played all the way through the night, phoned in sick. She went to work, came back. 36 hours later, I'm still on it, which is why I no longer have an Xbox, because it took over absolutely everything. So yeah, I've done addictive. 36 hours straight on Fallout.
I used to play on when I was a pretty new police officer. I would play what was it called? Homeworld. It was a PC game, but you take this fleet and you build it up and you have to find your way back to Earth or whatever. And I would play that all night, and then I would just skip the night of sleep and then just go about my day with the family and then go back to work that night. I just skip a whole night. But I was younger then and it worked out better. Now it's less fun to lose an entire night's sleep. As long as I get a couple hours, I'm usually okay. But.
Yeah. I just don't do that anymore. So
Walt says that's dedication. So,
Leo's asking when do you think the release for current? I guess that's work in progress will be. But One of Wasteland, I would guess, depends on some scheduling to see if anyone's behind with the narration. But I'm guessing around March.
Excellent.
Just wait for catch up. How work-wise, what are you doing at the moment, Scott? What's so your Alien Invasion series is going strong. What else are you working on?
So actually today I'm working on book 4 of the Alien Invasion called Departure Day, and that's coming on really good. I got some awesome characters, some neat twists happening in that. So that's gonna be cool. I just finished Orphan Wars 1 and sent it off to Jeff Chaney and his editorial team, and they're going to come back probably with some pretty big changes because it's a big project. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I have several side projects. I have a side project that I've been working on for years called Blue Sun Armada, it's a kind of an epic, kind of a Battlestar Galactica type thing where you have a fleet trying to find a homeworld, but there's a big twist in why they're gone from Earth in the first place. And then I have a crime thriller that I every now and then I'll drop in and write a couple of thousand words on it. I'm going to probably release under a pen name. I did that a little bit, so
I'm doing the same thing. I've got a real police procedural that's kind of on the back burner, has been for ages.
Yeah,
that kind of occasionally gets a bit of attention. I actually wrote mine to start with as a screenplay because I've never written a screenplay before. I'm not very good at it. And I thought, hey, that'll be easy. Turns out it wasn't at all. Really difficult. But I've got one of those bubbling as well. I think you spent long enough in the police, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone with a war film who's ever served or been to war. You see something on television, you go, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. It comes to a point where instead of just annoying everyone you watch TV with, you're going to have to, write your own story. Yeah.
Like you could do better. Okay, I'll go try. But, no, I'm always chipping away at that one. So, like I said, I get lots of ideas, but my basic process, I write on one thing until I get a pretty like maybe 3,000 words done, and then once I get done my rewards, I can do whatever else I want with whatever other projects.
I get that. I set my daily targets. So I'm just having a look at my spreadsheet today. Because as we were talking before the show, my wife goes back to university next week, which kind of takes out 3 days writing for me. So I'm going to be doing some night shifts, some evenings, doing some weekends and stuff like that. So she's she's gone from being detective, take some time off, have some kids, to go back to being midwife. There's yeah, I'm not going to make that joke. There's too much swearing involved, but she's seen plenty of them before. She's going to see some more now. But anyway,
right.
So yeah, so I'm bashing this year hard as soon as I can. So I've got like 32,500 words done in the last 11 days. With that's taking 4 days off. So I set my targets. I've got to get for my minimum word count on contracted stuff that has to be done. I'll get my 3,500 done a day. When I hit my 3,500 and finish up naturally after that I can go back and play on whatever I want. So yeah, I've done like an extra 2,000 today on something that I wanted to do, not what I needed to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that because it's almost, I treat it like a video game, because I have almost as much fun writing my passion projects. So I write, stay on track, but then I have some fun too. It's like that. Enjoying.
Absolutely.
Walt says,
nothing puts me off writing more than being told you've got to do that in this time.
Right. Let's make it a job.
If I was a trad writer, I could completely understand George Martin. Right, okay, here's £1 million. Go and give us a book in 2 years, because full well I am taking 20 months off.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, oh shit, homework's due tomorrow, and
Yeah.
then I'll start a book and I'll sit in a cave and hibernate and write it all in one go.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. You could see how you want it to continue to be fun. And in the StreamYard comments, Walt says his wife won't watch movies with him unless they come with aliens and tentacles. Apparently, that allows him to suspend disbelief, perhaps. And
either that or his own autocorrected testicles.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you've talked to Walt much, he's has a deep special forces background and whatnot. So obviously, like you, he has a lot of stuff he probably picks out of movies. And then Facebook users ask Devon, how much emphasis do you put on outlines?
That's Leo. Outlines. Yeah, not a lot. I'll be honest, Leo. Josh, me working with Josh works really well because we both have our strengths. Josh is the master planner. He sees the matrix.
Yeah.
I cannot plan past 20 minutes. I have to have lists every day of stuff that I need to go. I have got no short-term memory. I've got no patience for planning. I've got no ability for planning. I keep some occasional notes of, oh, that's a good idea. Let's have that in later. But I literally sit down and make it up as I go along. Which was funny. Steve Bowler had a review the day, so it looks like the author's making it up as he goes along. Like, yeah, no shit. Yeah. That's kind of what most of us do. But no, I am not an outliner at all. I am got a vague idea. I sit down, I blast it out. When I get towards the end of manuscript, I will start putting the stuff I need to get into. Then I actually write the end scene, probably halfway through the final book, or halfway through the book. I'll write the end scene. And then I work towards that within the word count goal. But yeah, I'm not an outliner at all.
That's similar. The halfway part, like you're talking about. So I will try to outline. I like to know where the structure is. I like a 4-part structure for a book and a 3-part structure for a movie. Kind of like, the refusal of the call, acceptance of the call. At this point, the characters can't go back. They make a decision where they have to go forward in the story. They commit to the story. And that's where it falls. So I like the structure, but I usually outline about the first half, and then maybe outline a couple of points in the second half, and then after I've written the first half of the book, then I'll kind of know what to do with the rest of those. And I like to compare it to driving with your headlights. I outline ahead of me as far as I would see, like in the headlights of my car driving at night. Because if I'm driving from here to California, I can't see all the way to California, but I can see a couple hundred meters in front of me. And so it's kind of like that for me. I like to.
I write all my books, just seeing just what's ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I plan too much, then I dig myself into all kinds of super crazy holes because I'm trying to fulfill the outline. And then my mind starts making stuff up because, creativity. And the next thing I know, I'm so far off on a rabbit trail trying to satisfy the outline that it just gets mixed up. So,
yeah. I think because I don't plan, that's probably the reason I should count it up at some point. I've made this joke plenty of times. Well, not a joke. Looking at I've got a folder on my desktop that says half-cooked ideas and general shit. So what I do
Yeah.
is I wake up at 2, I write down the first 10,000, and then I don't know what to do with it. So it goes in there. I've got probably 15, 20 stories in there that are ideas that
Mhm.
just kind of lost their way. So the ones that I have written, these are the ideas that kept on giving. You know, when an idea is still giving 9 books in, then it must have been a good one to start with.
Yep. Well, I finally figured out how to open up my things there, but that's the same way. I literally have the same thing. I have if I totaled up, somebody one time asked me how many books I'd written. I'm like, well, do you counting all the 30,000 word starts I've done since I was 12? You know, since 1981 when I started writing. But yeah, so a bunch of stuff like that.
Walt's saying, have you ever gone back into those files and picked one and said, let there be light? Yeah, Tranquility. I shelved that completely with no idea what to do with it. And Josh did some CPR with me, and it is very much alive.
Josh is the story doctor, I think. I told him that before.
Without a doubt. But
that's really what he does, story doctoring.
But then
and writing.
It is all about with the collaboration, it's about working with your strengths. And my strength is Josh will give me we finished book 1 now. That's going to go off, be edited. Book 2, he is going to go away. He's going to take his little legal pads and he's going to do lots of Instagram stories of him looking thoughtful on his bike. And at the end of that, he's going to come out with he's going to hit me with this Google document with 30 chapters all beaten out. And I will sit there, I'll go, right, sweet. And I'll do 10,000 a day on that. I'll sit down, I'll do 30, 40,000 words a week, because I haven't got to think about where it's going. All I've got to think about is what these characters would do and say to each other to get this story followed. And sometimes I swing off left and pull over for a bit and, annoy him. And other times I don't. But when I've got that, I'm not joking, I'll write, if he's outlined it, I will write a book in a month, completely done. Because if anything, he's done my thinking for me, so I can just create that story. And it is very much a joint adoption. The story belongs to both of us, regardless of who does more writing, less writing, because it wouldn't exist without both inputs. Yeah,
it's like driving with a map versus just knowing generally you want to get across the country.
Yeah,
a couple of them, the you said something there that sparked a question, but I can't remember. I completely lost it. Stuff like that. So, I was going to say, one of the reasons you can do so much is because I've known you long enough to know that you write under the most extreme circumstances. You pretty much always kind of figure out a way to get it done. You have all those pictures of you writing with your kids in your lap.
With a baby on me, that's partly because it's cute, and partly because it's the only chance I got to work. So they're going to help.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to type with one hand or whatever, when you're holding a kid. So
it happens.
Yep. Good deal. Well, we have more questions. We can handle those, but most of us kind of want to hang out and get in touch. We haven't talked face to face for, probably a year and stuff. So I haven't really seen the lockdown beard,
So. It's been a work in progress it's been since last year. So it has to be great. So I'm just looking through the comments now. There's a question I missed earlier.
Paul's got a couple in there. And stuff. So, a lot of people are stressed out and down about things that are going, and I try to keep a pretty level keel and just do what I want to do. And I love to write. So, what is both of your passions besides the obvious? I got a whole list of those. Unless you want to go first, Deb.
I've got loads of passions. I literally have no time to do any of it.
Exactly.
We've got 2 toddlers. We've got a 1-year-old and 2-year-old. Our 1-year-old has medical issues, so she requires pretty much watching all the time. She's not aware of this, which is why she is batshit crazy, constantly trying to throw herself off stairs and stuff like that. she's not a sweet little girl anymore. You know, there's the days when we spent 4 months in hospital with her when she was born. She was premature. She was this tiny, weak little sparrow. I mean, this girl was born with a thigh gap, and now she like chases her brother down, tries to bite his face off. So my time is pretty much consumed with those, clearing up the mess they've made, and then moaning about how tired I am when I could have gone to bed. So I do have passions. I've forgotten what they are now. I will find them again when the kids go to school.
They're probably written down in one of your folders someplace.
Probably
like
just
that.
to bounce, blow the dust off it.
Yeah. I have lots of hobbies, and that's one of the reasons I write, because I can't do a lot of the things in real life. It's hard to go be a special forces commando on a starship, you know, in real life. It's just a lot of work. I imagine it can probably be done. But yeah, I was the guy in college where I took my classes, but I took like, you know, all my general education, but I take horseback riding, scuba diving, taekwondo, I just everything that was neat, art class, something with music. I wish there's more time to do all of those definite things like that. So what's the story closest to your heart?
Oh, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, go for
it. For me, it's my Toy Soldiers one, and probably not for a. In editing, can we insert some like violin music here? Just so I'm not taking myself too seriously. Toy Soldiers is a zombie military sci-fi series. Takes place in south of England in the late 80s, and it centers around a young boy on a farm who is not living a particularly happy life. Not to go into too much detail, a lot of the shit that little boy went through. It was based on some real life. So that was the closest to me, although not in a happy way. That makes sense?
Yeah. We'd like to go ahead and draw that out and torture you a little bit more if you want to.
Yeah, let's just go on to what's your one.
What's the closest to your? Yeah. So it's hard for me because I'm so, like I said, I'm like you. I get a little distracted. Probably the closest one to my heart right now is actually what I'm working on. It's my Blue Sun Armada, and I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure. I love it beyond anything that's reasonable every time I work on it, but I'm not sure anybody else will, because it breaks a lot of tropes. Like for example, the main protagonist and his wife are the main kind of, well, they're married. And so these characters that are married in the story, and I'm not sure it works in sci-fi. I've never really seen it that often, but that's not how I started out the story to be, but that's just how it turned out. And they're hilarious, and I like that. And then they have this whole giant family. It's kind of a Game of Thrones in space type of thing. It's the Battlestar Galactica one I referenced earlier. But every time I work on it, I become ridiculously happy, and I don't really know why exactly, but on lots of different levels, I just really love it. So it's kind of what I do for fun. That's probably the closest right now. If you asked me a few years ago, the answer might have been different for sure.
Oh yeah, sure. And to be honest, neither of us have finished writing books, so that question might change again in the future, big time.
Yeah, come on back. Cool, good deal.
Yeah, Leo, thank you. But it's right what you know, and a lot of what I put in my first series, and I imagine a lot of people out there go back and listen to or read their first series again, and you just want to get the red pen out. No. Mm-hmm. If I could rewrite, if I could go back to early 2016 and start again, that series would be totally different.
Yeah.
In absolutely every way. In terms of the length, the frequency, the release strategy, it would all be very different. But it's happened as well. It's got to here where I am. So a lot of where I grew up, a lot of experiences and observations and people I've observed are in that. So that's very much right what you know. And I've taken that concept and move it on. So the point where stuff happening in space 500 years in the future directly relates to experiences I've got that have just been changed to fit the scenario. Yep.
It's interesting how stories change. Even when I read and when I watch, it seems like it changes quite a bit. I wish I could go back and rewrite some things. If I had infinite time, I'd probably rewrite everything indefinitely. But at some point, you got to just let them go and be their own stories and stuff like that.
Yeah. I say if I could take anything back 5 years ago, I'd just go back with a data stick of like all my books. In fact, no, I'll probably go back 10 years and have all of Nick Smith's books as well, and publish those.
Yeah, that would be a solid strategy right there.
That was a definite fish to see if he's still in the chat.
For sure. No, After It Happens is a great series, extremely popular. It doesn't hurt that R.C. Bray also loves it and reads it well. So good stuff. And that's the first one I ever read of yours was in that series.
Yeah, it's to me that series. It was, I keep glancing up at the paperbacks, just being vain. That series is about the people and the way they develop, where they evolve, to the point where I released the latest book and people are saying, oh, it's like getting back with family and the people you've missed. I'm like, all right, I made them up, calm down. Yeah, I do get that. They're completely fictional, and yet you do find yourself wondering what they're up to, which is probably a side effect of me not having slept since 1997.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Sleep deprivation is tight. You really should.
Yeah.
Great thing. Yeah. Really, we're all as writers, we're all just sleep deprived people having hallucinations and writing them down.
Yeah.
For the most part. Good deal. Yeah. Now you'd mentioned some other sci-fi things. I didn't know if those were all coming along far enough to talk about, or because you'd talked about a couple other projects. I didn't know if you wanted to hit those or not.
Territory Wars, my new pew pew. That one, I'd finished a book. I was waiting for something else, and I had another idea, and I wrote it in 18 days, did the first draft. What's really cool about this one is that I wanted to get, because it's near future, like not that near, but it's future, but it's very military based, and it's around the Combined States Marine Corps is the main character. So I reached out to my fan group, and I've got 4 guys who are former and serving US Marine Corps personnel. I've got Lieutenant Colonel in there. I've got guys with a big mix experience, because I wanted them to help me out to make it authentic and sound authentic. And I'm not going for technically correct. I'm going for, I want people to listen to, read this news story and feel that it's familiar with what they know. So that one of the things I did with Toy Soldiers, that's set in tanks in the late 80s, just before the build up to the Gulf War. And my friend, my advisor on that book, when I was a kid going to the school beside the military, the tank base there, he was actually at that tank base serving. So I took him back to the museum to literally talk our way into a Chieftain tank so that I could describe it from something I've actually sat in. That's the kind of research I love doing.
That's awesome.
And everything, to the weapons, to the uniform, to the way they spoke to each other, I was going for familiar and authentic, not perfect how it would be, but how people feel comfortable with it, how it amuses people. Like with that one with Toy Soldiers, some of the insults the sergeant major gives to the troop clown, describing him as a 5'6" walking advert for condoms. It's some of the funniest shit I've ever heard, and I made it up. To hear that being narrated is fantastic. So yeah, I love that kind of authentic thing, which is what I've done with my guys. And these are fans giving up their own time to read a rough version of something before it comes out. And that's what I love about fan interaction, and how social media makes us accessible and makes fans accessible to us.
Yeah. Well, and that's getting a good beta reader or beta reader team is really amazing, because it is a lot of work, and they do give them their time, because time is something you can't get back. But when you get those experts, you get the people that are just invested into it. And I find it interesting what you're talking about having it be that blend between fictional and authentic, because it's not like
familiar, not similar.
Yeah. You're not reporting like the exact facts of every single thing. And sometimes you might have to fudge a fact because it tells the story better. Sometimes that's like I was doing some research while I was writing this morning. One of the characters is calling out, he sees ships that are attacking, they're alien ships and Earth forces ships, basically modern military aircraft trying to fight him, but he calls out that he's got a bogey. And I had Googled it for some reason, and the first thing that came up was from Top Gun. It says bogey is actually not the correct term for a hostile ship you can fire upon. That's called a hostile, whereas a bogey is an unknown, possibly enemy ship, and a bandit is an enemy vessel, and a hostile is one that's an enemy and you can shoot at it. And so, and then nobody cares, but everybody uses bogey in fiction, but it's actually not correct. But it probably sounded better at the time in the dialogue.
That could be one of those ones where you actually use the correct terminology and everyone goes, yeah, that's wrong. That's not what I saw.
You're wrong. You're so dumb. We talked a lot about that. Where were we talking about it? I can't remember if it was on one of our shows during a private chat about, we were talking about the movie Mosul, I think. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but basically it's about an Iraqi SWAT team who's, I mean, I could give a spoiler about why they're going on this long mission, but they're in fighting ISIS. They call them the Dash or Dash, but they do all their SWAT tactics from a military perspective. It's different. They're building clearing than SWAT a little bit, because I have SWAT experience, and their SWAT stuff, a lot of it was very good, but sometimes they did stuff that didn't make a lot of tactical sense. But in real life, a lot of times you do things that don't make tactical sense because you don't have a lot of choice. It's like, yes, I know the correct way to get around this corner and cut the pie and go through here would be this, but really I just need to get the heck over there, and it's going to look ugly. And that's what I got to deal with at the time. So I think that authenticity does not mean exact literal correctness.
I think with that, it's the same going on to weapon descriptions, whether they're real weapons or whether they're made up. There's only so far you can take the description before it becomes a manual, and people don't want to read a manual.
Right.
And those people who do read a manual aren't going to buy books.
Yeah. And you got to avoid the obvious mistakes, like pulling the hammer back on a Glock or something that makes people vomit in their mouth when they read it. But things like that. And cool. I love it. So
let's have a look back. See if there's a lot of comments I missed early on. Bush, you're gonna start writing. Do it.
There's quite a lot of comments in here. I've been running my mouth. Big fans of your After It Happened series in here. Clearly, good stuff. What else you got going today? What are you going to do after the show?
Well, after this, it's 9:00. Both babies will be down in bed, and it's going to be a case of do what we do most nights, of stay up until late watching television that we regretted watching because there's absolutely crap on every single streaming service and TV. Go to bed late and then moan that we're tired. Yeah,
perfect. Sounds good.
Are you finding that the whole everything's delayed through 2020? So now we're seeing, this looks good. It's new on Netflix, and it's some Bulgarian crime thriller that's dubbed really badly into English. Are we that desperate for TV that we're just pinching foreign programs and just dubbing over them now? Have we not been able to make anything? Put some old films on that are good,
Right.
Yeah, we have really struggled with finding good TV. We watched the whole of Walking Dead from the start to finish again.
We were chatting about that a little bit before we started and stuff. You said you were bored with what was Fear the Walking Dead? Is that the other one? I watched the first season of that. A little slower. It's
an interesting thing from a book perspective as well. See, Walking Dead, it had a lot of faults. It had some seriously low production value in the first few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time we got to season 10, I'm like, I love this again. And then it went a bit too much. And then, anyway, Walking Dead, on the whole, loved it, enjoyed it. Wife's not a big action fan. She enjoyed it as well. So we start Fear the Walking Dead. And midway through the second episode, we both died of boredom. Now, I've persevered with it, but watching it on my iPad so I can just basically keep tapping 10 seconds forward to cut out all of the drawn-out, boring dialogue.
Yeah.
You get it. You're trying to get in someone's head. Well done. It doesn't take 25 minutes of dialogue and staring. It's got more staring in it than Twilight. So I'm doing the visual equivalent of skim reading it at the moment and just cutting through and getting to the action. And when you actually find the story underneath, it's actually really clever and better than Walking Dead. But
yeah,
I think the biggest problem with that is that none of the characters are likable at all.
It's been a while since I watched that one, but I watched the first season, I think, and it took a long time to get going. I found it interesting that it was set in a larger urban environment than the initial Walking Dead.
It moves on a lot. Yeah.
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 I've fortunately for me in the movie things, I've been falling so far behind on all of my series. Like I still haven't watched all of dang it, what's the meth making one?
Breaking Bad.
I still haven't watched all of that. Watched like most of the first season. I still haven't watched The Wire. I have several. I haven't watched all of The Expanse. I haven't watched all of Altered Carbon. I just did this huge list of things, and I'll kind of watch them a little bit as I go when I can.
I'm up to date with The Expanse. I've seen Breaking Bad through twice, and Wire. None that came out on our Sky, which is like your HBO. Came out on our Sky when Jackson was little, so we watched all of that. He really enjoyed it. Through all the way through.
Yeah.
So what else did he mention? Were we talking about this in the chat the other day? The Shield. Tried the Shield. Never got into that at all.
I haven't watched the Shield yet. I watched the first 4 seasons of Vikings. I watched.
Actually, I loved Vikings right until a main character died, and then after that, I lost all interest.
Yeah, it got difficult. I tried to come back because I binge watched it, and then I had to wait for a year, and then I never really came back. And then what was the other one I watched a lot? I watched all of the Alias ones. I watched the first 4 or 5 of 24, and I watched all of the Justified because at the time I was working a part-time where I sat in a car a lot and I could watch movies sometimes. And my dad at the time was into RVing, and so he would binge watch these things, and he'd send me the whole disc set for like 5 seasons of something, and I'd watch all of it. But I just haven't done that for a while now.
I think that's one of the first things I did when I quit my job. I was like, okay, I haven't got to go anywhere, I haven't got to be anywhere, I haven't got to do anything. So I think I sat and bought every season of Justified and just watched the whole lot.
Yeah,
and I love that. It's
cheesy. It is, but it's for some reason it's super addictive about it. There's several things. Oh, what's the other one? True Detective. I watched the first True Detective season, pretty good. I didn't watch the second all the way.
Didn't get into it.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. Cool. Well, you're getting ready to watch mindless TV for 3 hours. I got to grab a nap and then go to work tonight. So that's my schedule. But I appreciate you coming on, and good time. We should do it again. Stay caught up on that stuff. Good deal.
Yeah. Well, I am going to do. Well, it was absolutely quite a while of doing videos with the whole. Baby in hospital, everything. Never got back into it, but I'm going to be back into doing some more videos this year. So thanks for having me on, buddy.
There's several things I would like to write a book on one of these, like do a weekly video podcast where you plan it out and write it live. Could be fun. People have done versions of that. Like again, we'll see. Big plans, always lots of big plans. We'll see if they work.
People don't want to see a half-hour live video of me staring at the screen, then tapping like mad for 5 minutes and swearing at it and deleting loads.
Well, what we'd do is we'd have a script in the beginning, so we'd plan out fake drama like they do in all the reality shows, where like you'd have a plot idea, but then I would hate it, and then we'd yell at each other, argue, we'd make up insults, and it'd be great.
Yeah, but anyone in the UK watching, we could basically do me and Scott on Towie. That'd be great.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, and I'll holler at you next time. I'll go ahead and log out. Thanks everybody in the chat for coming. Appreciate all your questions, and as always, have a great day, and everybody be safe. Take care.